something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Lines being drawn. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong.
He's loving it. Christopher, Bye-bye.
Yo. Starting off heavy today. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend. It's actually been a week since I was here. I had a great vacation. Repping some of the stuff that I wore. Sorry for that sad note this morning. I just wanted to focus a lot, I believe, on how we need to fight crime if we want a better society. And I think with a better society, we get better markets. And so I think it all ties together. Segueing away from that, though, and lightening the mood a little bit, here is my fancy, I don't know if you can see it here, glass-ish deposit from SpaceX. It was awesome visiting there. The road is crazy going up to it. Boca Chica, the little road going up to it, is just a disaster because of all the heavy equipment they bring up and down it. But they're expanding, and it was such a cool, it's amazing how close you can get to the rockets. They have some private signs in like different places, and I'm sure they're going to tackle you if you go past those. But it was awesome. It was such a cool experience. I'll never forget it, and I recommend everybody do it. And I can't even imagine what it looks like years from now. I wanna lighten the mood a little bit though. I want to talk about things that I believe are positive, and there's going to be changes. Some of those positive things are going to be changes to the channel. I talked about it a little bit on X, but I will be switching to 1 day a week starting next week. Today's probably the last day I'm going to do it this week. I'm just going to be doing Monday mornings. I'm going to try and focus on getting you prepared for everything that came over the weekend and everything that you should be looking forward to. I'm going to try and make better content with that time too, and might even make that session a little bit longer. Also, since I'm only going to do it 1 day a week, I will have the help and blessing from my wife to help edit and add chapters and do some of the other stuff that people have been asking for a while. So I'm going to do that too. Hopefully, making a better experience for all of you and also helping grow the channel. I'd like to grow it. I want to have a broader reach. I want to have more impact in life. It's less about monetary compensation, and it's more about just trying to get what I believe there are the right messages for humanity, for the United States, and for people in investing. So that's what we're hoping to do, and we'll start that on Monday. So the set might look a little different. I might have a few more colors in the background because people like to do that when they're YouTubers. So anyway, hopefully it'll be a lot better and it'll be much improved, or at least you'll be getting. Hopefully saving time and getting all the content that you need. Good morning from Panama. I love Panama. I have a family in Panama. My mother-in-law is actually going to Panama tomorrow. So much love in Panama, my friend. Which part are you in, by the way? Which city? All right. I want to start off here. Just, I'm trying to also provide some better content on X. Haven't fully gotten there yet. It's going to be a work in progress. But I did want people to focus, again, on the positive things that are happening over the next 6 months of the year. So I came up with a list of these, and then I had to spot check a bunch of information and try and vet out things. Panama City, yeah, I love Panama City. Balboa, nice. I've been there. Panama City's pretty awesome. Even though I do prefer some of the other places I love, like Boquete on the southwest. Absolute beautiful place. I love that Volcan Baru is right next to it, hiking up to the top of a volcano and then going down into a city that's nice and small and has like a beautiful creek running through it and just tropical flowers and plants everywhere. It's just gorgeous. It's one of my favorite places there. Anyway, back to it. So here's the the things over the next 6 months that I think are going to be really beneficial to the economy and to the markets, and I wanted to talk through them. One already happened, right? QT ended, and the Fed starting mini QE. So that was just, I believe it was buying back $20 billion a month. And that's not really much. It's not really much in the way it's structured. It doesn't really do much as far as the quantitative easing part. December 10th, that is today, we will have the Fed cutting rates by 25 bips. I think that's pretty locked in right now. I don't think anybody really thinks that's going to be any different. Last I checked, it was a 95% probability. Let's refresh here real quick. We do have a Tom Lee post too. I want to go over that. It's 89.6. So I don't even remember the last time the Fed didn't do what the market's expectations were. So I'm pretty sure you're going to see that 25 bips. I know people like Stephen Moran and others are looking for 50. They're probably not going to get it, at least not yet. December, I put late 2025. That's when the Senate Banking Committee does a markup vote on digital asset market structure bill. The Senate Banking Committee, the chair, Tim Scott, plans to advance its draft of the bipartisan Digital Market Clarity Act. It's funny, this is one of the only things we can get people to really agree on anymore. So that it's good, though, for the crypto space, I think. Defining SEC Gov's, CFTC roles for digital commodities, spot trading, and consumer protections. This builds on the House passed Clarity Act and Senate AG committee's November 2025 draft. Could unlock roughly $50 to $100 billion in institutional capital via tokenized assets and DeFi. And this is like over the initial part of 2026. Expected floor vote early Q1 of 2026. I actually think it can happen quicker than that from the sounds of it. We'll see. Worst case, we're looking at full passage by March. December 2025 to January 2026, so around the same time frame. Maybe even a little bit earlier. I just didn't know where to put it in the list because all these things kind of flop around. We're going to get SEC clearance of altcoin ETF backlog. Government shutdown ended November 13th. The SEC resumes processing of 91 plus pending crypto ETF applications under generic listing standards. So you have all of this happening too. They think this could unlock another $10 to $20 billion, mirroring BTC ETH ETF surges greater than $50 billion year to date. So again, more money being unlocked, potentially lifting altcoins because there's a decent amount of these that are in that too. Then we have the supplemental leverage ratio. I was talking about that a lot. January 1st, that actually becomes an option for banks. So banks can voluntarily start implementing changes that allow them to lend more aggressively because of reduced reserve requirements. This should open up around $100 to $200 billion in balance sheet capacity for additional lending, adding 0.9% to GDP based upon realistic expectations. Note this becomes mandatory April 1st. So again, if you appreciate the research that I've been doing here, and I had to fact check a bunch of things and cross check things with different AIs, Grok and Gemini, because I don't like ChatGPT. Fuck that shit. But if you appreciate that, please hit the like button. I would greatly appreciate it. January 15th, the Supreme Court makes a decision on Lisa Cook's termination on cause. If you remember Lisa Cook, she's the one that was committing mortgage fraud, and Trump's trying to get rid of her because of that. I don't know if this is going to pass or not, but if she loses her position at the Federal Reserve, she would be replaced most likely with Kevin Hassett. People, I think, don't understand that him being appointed the chairman by President Trump, which I think is still going to happen even though there's other interviews going on, that appointment doesn't give him voting rights on the Board of Governors. So that's a separate process. So we'd need that. We'd need that to be able to really give us an additional vote. But he will have sway. Obviously, the Fed chairman has sway. But it would be nice to get rid of this lady, and also too, not just this. They're not just using cause for some kind of fraud that was outside of her duties. That one might not work. But they're also going after them for autopin signatures, and the fact that a lot of these appointments for the Fed Board of Governors were done by autopin. So we're not even sure how much Joe Biden knew or had in decision-making in regard to these appointments. So there's potential that might roll it back too. Both of those things would be great. January 27th, FOMC meetings, rotations. So again, we're hoping with this one, soft landing talk could push a risk on a rally in markets. I'm actually hoping for that today. Easing could pull yields down in the short end of the curve by another 25 bips. And again, the same thing happening on March 18th. March 30th, tax refunds of $100 to $200 billion in extra money for people who are collecting Social Security or making overtime and or making tips. This occurs each year for the next 10 if the program continues. So again, the number could be much bigger as far as this goes, but this would provide immediate relief. So, I mean, some people will get this before. I just put March 30th because it's close to the tax deadline. But some people could get immediate relief and get big refunds. Also, they'll be able to adjust their withholdings. And with those adjustments on withholdings, I put down here April early, their checks would be larger, and they're going to be pushing. The Treasury is going to be pushing this messaging pretty hard. So not only are we looking at people getting some monies, but we're looking at doing this. And then again, there's that previous talk of like a tariff check of whatever amount in order to be able to show people that, hey, the tariffs are a good thing. Let's give some of the money back to people that are in the lower class, not the rich, not the upper middle class, but people that are low to middle class that are getting hurt the most and that are suffering from a K-shaped economy, which I think is great. Alex, might be worth buying some cheap puts for protection today. I feel like Powell's going to be a hawk. Maybe. I don't care. I'm out of a lot of leverage, so I really don't care. I can just wait it out. You know what I mean? I can just sit around and wait it out. Not too worried either way. May 15th, again, April 29th, another potential rate cut. So we've got all of these. Then May 15th, Fed Chairman Powell, his term expires, and Kevin Hassett would take over again, most likely Kevin Hassett. I said normally they give up their seat as well. So this is a really important part. So worst case scenario, overwhelmingly, the Fed, when they lose their position as chairman, they step down off the board of governors and give their seat to somebody else. So it would break historic norms for Fed Powell to do any different. And let me just read this here. Based on the history of the Federal Reserve chairs since the Fed's founding in 1914, chairs who are not reappointed or whose terms end without renewal have overwhelmingly chosen to step down from the Board of Governors shortly after the end of the chair term. Even when their governor term extends further, this pattern holds, especially in the modern era, post-1950. Driven by norms of avoiding lame duck status, reducing political friction, and pursuing other opportunities, both private sector, academia, and government roles. Again, they want to get all their money, so it's time to move on. I think that's most likely what's going to happen. It says there are rare exceptions from the Fed's early decades, but no chair in the last 75 plus years has not stepped down. So what I'm saying here is worst case scenario, by May 15th, this Fed goes away and we can lower rates aggressively. Again, also, we have the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, who is working to do other things like what we're seeing here for the supplemental leverage ratio, that along with like yield curve control with the Fed in order to be able to get it to where we can keep the long end of the curve down. And that's all really going to be good for markets, guys. I know there's been tons of pain since the Fed raised rates at the most aggressive rate in history. But that pain, we're doing the opposite of those things now, and that's going to be really beneficial for the economy. I did not post my bookmarks like I normally do, so I'm just going to kind of run down the list here. And if there's anything you guys want to talk about, throw it out there. We're going to keep it pretty unofficial today and pretty chill. I think the markets actually look really good today. Let's do this, though. Before we get down that list, we'll listen to my boy Tom Lee. Since I like to give you some exclusive here, let's listen to what Tom Lee has to say today. Oh, and you know what? I need to fix my chart over here for Bitcoin. Make this a little cleaner. Again, many things will be made better. Let me just make sure I got it in there. Got it in the shot. Many things will be made better with me spending less time making the video and more time focusing on the big picture. And I'm even getting I'm getting a Amazon Kindle Scribe where I can write and take notes as I'm watching YouTube videos. and then I can use AI to help summarize that, and then I can use Grok to do the deep dives on any of the questions that I have. I'm really hoping to step up my game, maybe have individual videos on different subjects too that are beneficial to people in the markets. So hopefully it's going to get a lot better here. That's the goal. But let's listen to Tom Lee. I love you guys. Here we go. Oh, my bad. Captions off.
Good evening, FS Insight family and community. Today is Tuesday, December 9th, and this is our Macro Minute. Before I begin today's video...
To be clear, this is late last night. Tom burns the midnight oil, so this is 9:30.
Just a reminder that on December 11th, this Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, is our 2026 Market Outlook. Please tune in. We have a lot to discuss. So December's been off to a shaky start, just like November. So far this month, the S&P is slightly down for the month. But tomorrow is the December FOMC rate decision, and I think that's really going to be the decider for what the market does the rest of the month. We think it's going to start or be the catalyst for a rally towards 7,000 to 7,300 for the S&P. Now, as you know, yesterday we talked about the Fed likely to do a hawkish cut, which means they'll cut, but then they won't commit to further cuts. But I want to explain why I think even after they say they're going to do a hawkish cut, or their cut is hawkish, markets will still interpret this ultimately as bullish. Okay.
All right.
And for some context, recall that for the October FOMC rate decision, which was at the end of October, Fed Chair Powell poured cold water on a December cut. So markets sold off after that meeting, and of course have been bracing for what they view as a December cut that is hawkish. So number one, the reason I think it's going to be relatively constructive is that...
Also, I just really want to say, not that Tom Lee isn't saying important things right now, but I do not like slicked back hair Tom Lee. He's looking really old right now. It's not a good look, Tom. You need to fix that. Just stick with the crazy hair. It's where you thrive.
Hawkish cut is the base case, meaning investors have been bracing for this, so the bad news is priced in.
I agree.
The second reason
I think they're even bracing for it this morning.
Fed Chair Powell could actually be dovish because the economic data has been soft lately. I mean, look at this warning from JP Morgan.
I agree with this too. And I actually think that if you look at this logically and not politically, like let's pretend for a second that that Jerome Powell isn't political, or he wants to go out without destroying his legacy and being shit talked all the time by Trump till Trump is gone from this earth, because that's what would happen. You know it, and he knows it. I think instead of having to deal with that, when you have a lack of data for a month and a half, it kind of makes sense that you err on the side of caution and you do rate cuts and you don't talk to like, oh, so worried about inflation. Now, there is inflation. I saw an uptick in Mexico, but I think Mexico's got its own problems. All the immigrants are there, right? They couldn't get into America, and now they're dealing with their own problems of allowing a chain of people to go up from South America all through the Darien Gap and all the way up into the borders of the United States to gain entry here. But then when they close that down, now these people are like looking for asylum there. They're losing tons of revenue. Now we're talking about taxing money, remittances that are sent back to Mexico. Like they're hurting over there. So, but there's other parts of the world where, like China last night, we got data that showed that their PPI, their producer price index, inflation was down. Now they saw inflation around consumption, which is fine. They actually haven't really seen any, so it's probably a good thing that they start to see some, just from nothing for a very long time. But PPI being down is great because, again, that's the kind of stuff that translates. That's the exporting deflation to the rest of the world kind of stuff, which is wonderful. So, and if you look around to other countries, Brazil doesn't have a problem with inflation. They just got their data last night too. So I think the inflation narrative is weak right now. I think a weak job market is a stronger narrative. And so I think he could actually be dovish. Wouldn't that be crazy?
They said the environment has become a little bit fragile and it's led to a a pretty big sell-off in JP Morgan stock today. The third thing to keep in mind is that QT ended quantitative tightening on December 1st, which means that quantitative easing is essentially underway.
Now, I'm going to have to take a look here on point number 3 because he's saying 40 to 50 billion per month. I thought it was 20. If anybody in chat knows the number, let me know.
Fed's going to...
That's a little bit better.
They're going to maintain the balance sheet. They're going to buy $40 to $50 billion of treasuries per month. And going back to 2019, the last time QT ended, okay, the S&P ended up rallying double digits over 16 trading days. So it's bullish.
Got some good history behind us.
If it plays out again. And the last reason I think it's going to be even if it's a hawkish cut, is that if the Fed's too hawkish, the White House may invoke what I call the shadow Fed chair. And President Trump is already meeting with the final contenders, and they may just announce something sooner if they feel that Chair Powell is too hawkish. Now, today, JOLTS was reported. It was actually stronger than expected, but it's still not a great labor market. It's one where, if you look at the lower chart, the number of openings per available worker is still about 1.
It's so funny that we're at a point in time right now where we're rooting for bad news. The markets are so strange. It's always very interesting to be like, okay, does the market want good or want bad? Because if bad this time is good, and so we're happy to hear it.
And tomorrow is, of course, the most important macro point this week, which is the FOMC rate decision.
Today.
There isn't much Fed speak the rest of the week because, well...
When was that, too?
Macro...
2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central Time, then the 1:30. You know what? I might even do that today. We'll see. I've got lunch plans with a friend of mine in town named Scott. But if that works out and if there's time, I'll try and stream the FOMC meeting and then give you guys my thoughts at the end of it.
Point this week, which is the FOMC rate decision. There isn't much...
Also, sorry to interrupt Tom again. That is another thing I'm looking to change. So if I'm only doing one like big show at the beginning of the week, and I should probably vote on the day actually to see what people are interested in. But if I only do one big show at the beginning of the week, I think that will allow time for me to be around more for special events, things where, it's a really big deal, and maybe my take at that time is more interesting. So I'll try and do that. And do some special shows too, again, along with some special video content that maybe isn't live.
Much Fed speak the rest of the week because, well, tomorrow's the FOMC rate decision. And as far as earnings go, a couple of granny shots are reporting, Broadcom and Costco after the close Thursday, and on the mid-cap side, AeroVironment. But I think markets are going to really care about Oracle, which reports after the close Wednesday. The reason for that is Oracle jumped 35% when they reported their August fiscal quarter. But the stock did subsequently sell off after that.
A lot of debt.
And finally, just keep in mind, we still see 6 reasons for stocks to rally into December. The Fed's cutting rates, the economy is still healthy, the shutdown's over, there should be performance chasing underway, equities got oversold in November, and of course, just the seasonal argument. So I expect stocks to rally. Maybe it looks like this, a bit of turbulence first, but we'd still be buying the dip. We'd still favor Mag 7, Bitcoin, and Ethereum, as well as industrials, financials, and small caps on a dovish Fed.
I love Tom. He's had it rough. I've had it rough. To rally. But I do, at least, here's the thing. If there's anything I've learned throughout investing, it's really, really hard to call timing. Sometimes it looks like it's easy. Sometimes it looks like you're going to slug it out of the park. I certainly thought with Bitcoin I was going to slug it out of the park this year, but that was obviously the crowded trade. Everybody thought that. It's very evident afterwards. Looking at Bitcoin and crypto and seeing everybody I think this is probably the worst sentiment ever. There's people that are still optimistic, and the way the sentiment indicators work, they don't look horrible. And by that, I mean like they're out of extreme fear. But just from the people I know, man, especially the people I know that have been in this game for a very long time, unless they're the diehards, like really understand Bitcoin, if they were like shitcoiners, memers, whatever, they are out. They are out. They just can't. They're done. And if anything, though, that tells me that this is a good time to be in, because the weaker hands, the people that don't really get Bitcoin, they're done. They've given up. They've thrown in the towel, right? So I think that's actually really much a positive, because we want the weak hands out of the market. It's a beautiful thing. Sad to hear once a week. Yeah, it's a bummer. Honestly, I'm happy about it. So I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but I really think that 1 week is gonna create better quality in the content that I provide. So I can devote a lot more time to like I said, things like chapters, creating separate videos for different parts of the content that really should resonate with people. I think it's just gonna all be better. I am only one human. I got a daughter I'm trying to spend more time with. I got a wife I'm trying to spend more time with. I've got family and friends that I'd like to spend more time with, and getting out of the house and the dungeon of my YouTube realm. And then at the same time, I'm trying to make sure that I'm absorbing content as efficiently as I can. And then again, I'm trying to get it to where, like, I'm taking digital notes and using this scribe tool in order to be able to get a lot better at just really structuring my thoughts. Because I find personally, if you're just clicking through and reposting and you're very shallow in what you're looking at, you're just not going to be as effective. You're not, no matter what that is, especially if you're trying to convey messages to people. So I think the best way to be effective and to communicate great messages that hold a lot of value is to put a lot of time into the work. James and Best Answers is great at that. And there's other people that are pretty good too, but I want to be one of them. So you won't miss me. You'll just get better content, and you won't be seeing me live every day of the week. But it'll be good. Yeah. So we got people protesting stuff. Again, we're very unorganized here. We got a lady in London who's English who says that she would be okay with London being 90% Muslim. She also says that she doesn't live in London and hasn't for a very long time, and getting rid of fascists would be better. Then she was asked if she's okay with Sharia law, and she says that
if London becomes 90%,
she says that she respects their opinions. And he's like, well, what about Sharia law? You know, if it's 90% Muslim here, then they would implement Sharia law. Are you okay with Sharia law? She doesn't seem to understand what it is, and she said that she would respect them and that she doesn't live there anyway, so she doesn't have to worry about it, which I find funny, because she's wearing. Again, in this, when you see this right here, what is it called? I can't remember the name of it. That's actually, I want to say, from Iraq. That's like not even something. That's just the Palestinian people stole it, and then Westerners are wearing it to show how much they love Gaza and Palestine and whatever other bullshit they don't really understand. But this video, the thing I got out of it is there's a ton of people out there that are really passionate about shit they've spent zero time trying to understand, which is very, very interesting. And I'm not going to go down to too many replicate James model and hire a team. I'm not that ambitious. Maybe we'll see. Maybe if I get big enough, I'm like at 24,000 ish almost subscribers right now on YouTube and 110 about on X. If I get bigger, then maybe that's something I'll end up doing. But then it feels like a job. I don't know. We'll see. I'm all for AI. I'm all for AI and anything that makes my life easier. And for people, if I could find people that will make my life easier, I like that too. I just don't want it to be more complicated. I used to manage departments and different people, and I fucking hated it. People are incredibly complicated. They have all this baggage and shit. I just don't want to deal with it. We'll skip all the Muslim stuff. If you haven't seen it, this is Katie Miller. I don't know. She's kind of pseudo hot. She's got 144,000 followers on here. I think her YouTube channel. Let me see. Let me see if I can. I had her on YouTube. I want to say there were like 11,000 followers. It was not a big number. So she was or is an employee. Great interview. Asked good questions. Probably stuff you already know, but just maybe a little more nuance. But a great interview. But she's hot, and he seems to be in her apartment. And so I don't know if Elon's working on populating the Earth more. Wouldn't be surprised. Hey, man, The more little baby Elons, the better. That's my view. JP Morgan, I know everybody hates JP Morgan. I don't blame you. I mean, they were trying to fuck MicroStrategy recently. There's good reasons to not like them. But they're saying that Bitcoin has strong support right now around the 94,000 region. We actually need to get above it for that to be true. And that they see it moving potentially towards 170. So they're at least putting out bullish messaging. They're doing this to their client base too. So I think that's a good thing. Save animals too. What am I missing in chat? Galaxy said once a week and maybe emergency app. Yeah, I think the emergency episode thing isn't a bad deal too, because I want to be supportive to people. But if things are going well, I don't know if there's a lot of reason to have something. But if things are going crazy and people have questions, I like the idea of that too. And if I'm not doing it every morning and I don't have this schedule and like missing sleep because I'm trying to get up early to do stuff, then I think that would make that easier. Let's see here. So, RHX, honestly, I'd love the multiple shows a week. Every morning with you is exciting, so informative. I like doing it too, to a point. It's just that it becomes so much work, and then I don't feel I'm like. It's like there's the old saying, "The forest from the trees." I feel like I'm lost in the forest when I'm posting news events all the time, and I'm doing this. I'm not doing deep reading. I'm not spending as much time doing research, and I don't like that. I want to provide unique value. I don't want to be just a news printer. I might still be able to figure out how to have an AI find the things I'm looking for, because you can filter really well using X for content and for being able to manage accounts. And if I can integrate an AI to be able to post like me, that would be great. Yeah, Jordy Visser, a little bit of a misspell there. There you go. You got to fix. He's great. I don't know that I can even come close to competing with him as far as just analytics, brilliance, scientific mind, ability to look at the big picture from a technological standpoint. He is fucking brilliant. But I would like to piggyback off of this work sometime, or if there's anybody that I'd like to talk to, it would probably be him. He's great. He kind of got his start, I think, in a bigger way off of Anthony Pompliano. Oh, dude, I'm totally addicted to him. You guys actually brought that guy to me, right? Like you guys told me about him. He's so good. He had a really great video just over the weekend too, talking about how LLMs are kind of the thing that's not going to be focused on as much, and then what that looks like. It's like VLA and for whatever else term, and it's brilliant. There's so much alpha in that, and so, but I'd like to be like a baby version of that if I can. I think that would be cool. All right, so Dan said NVIDIA H200 AI chips for China. So in case you don't know this already, the president has said China can have them. I'm sure there'll be more bullshit going back and forth between Xi and him. They kind of like bitch slap each other, but then smile and say, no, I love you. We work well together. But they're going to get their H200s. They'll be manufactured in Taiwan, and then they'll be sent to the United States for review and to ensure that we can do the 25% tariff, because we have some rules about how you can tariff. And so if it isn't in this country and then exiting this country to go to the customer, we can't tariff them. So this is our workaround. We got Jack Mallers saying he is super bullish. And again, so $400 to $500 trillion savings market. And now we're at 2.43 trillion today. He thinks there's 100 to 200x BTC runway sitting in front of us. Didn't give any timelines, not really his thing. Oh, and in this video, you'll find that Elon Musk believes in the creator. I'm going to let him say this in his own words. This is kind of what I think too.
Who do you look up to the most?
The creator.
What's your current position on God?
God is the creator.
You don't believe in God, though, do you?
Well, I believe this universe came from something. People have different labels.
Who do you look up to the most?
The creator.
Yeah, anyway, that's kind of my thought process on it too. And I think there's good versions and bad. I won't go into all the Muslim stuff. Cool story, though. I got a little tiny story. So CARE, skip the rare in this part. CARE is basically an organization that's infiltrated all around the United States with a big focus on conservative regions where they can flip votes. And so Florida and Texas were really big targets. Oklahoma, there's a bunch of other ones where they're targeting conservative states so that they can try and flip them and get it to where they're in control or a large body of voting power. This is how the mayor of London became a Muslim, right? A Muslim that is for Muslims and not other people in the city. This is how you do it, right? You infiltrate like that. The same thing. They did the same thing in Minneapolis. The Somalis there, they all come to one region, a liberal region. They take advantage of the system. Evidently, they commit $8 billion in fraud, and now it sounds like they're doing that in Maine too. And then they're able to get a voting power. And the mayor of Minneapolis now speaks Somalian. This white motherfucker, liberal, cuck-looking motherfucker, speaks Somalian to the Somalian people because they're such a big voting bloc, and so they have massive influential power, and that's probably why Tim Walz let them steal all the money. Allegedly, do I have to say that? Do I have to say that? I mean, he did. Allegedly. There we go. That's what I got to do, just for the legal parts. I love this. I'm actually going to play this. This is cool. So this is a young man. And again, we'll get to investing stuff too. And if you guys have charts you want to look at, news events, whatever, talk about them. I'm not really super formal this today. I'm kind of taking it easy since we're switching things up starting next Monday. So if you guys have any questions about anything, throw it out. What I love here, though, is this young man had an American flag on the back of his truck. His principal at his school told him to take it off or leave. He refused to take it off because it was a part of his First Amendment rights. And they charged him with they called the police and had him arrested for trespassing. He's showing up in court. ONDS, yeah, we can take a look. He's showing up in court, and they're basically putting out their case. Listen to this. This is fucking amazing.
The school called his American flag divisive.
So if this was in Europe, you know what would happen? That kid would probably go to jail or whatever, some juvie thing or something. You rape a girl, you're good. You can go enjoy life. You show a flag and show pride in your nation, and you're white, you're fucked. But this kid did it anyway, and I love this judge's response.
Of imagery and suspended him. When he refused to leave, they arrested him for trespassing. Watch the judge give the school board a lesson in the First Amendment.
Once he was suspended for the policy violation, he was no longer allowed on school property. By refusing to drive off campus, he committed criminal trespass. We have a zero tolerance policy for banned individuals.
I didn't trespass, Your Honor. I was sitting in my own truck in the parking lot. The principal told me to take the flag down or leave. I told him I have a First Amendment right to be there, and I'm not moving.
You can't trespass a student for exercising protected speech in a parking lot. That suspension was unconstitutional, which means the trespassing order is void. So I have to dismiss this. And if you tow his truck, I'll charge you with theft.
The school called him.
Fuck yeah. You get him, bro. Here's a Somalian truck driver. He doesn't seem to know shit. Could be borderline retarded. At least he's trying to work. But he doesn't seem to speak English well. His training seems to be horrific. And he took his Amazon vehicle and drove it up. This is in a fucking airport. In an airport. This guy's like, I was supposed to go in here. He is going into the drop-offs area at the fucking LAX. Because, I don't know, he thinks he's dropping off a passenger or something. And he rams his vehicle up here, tears off the cables underneath the tow hitch. And I don't know, man. Maybe we shouldn't give licenses to people who do not speak English well and who are borderline fucking retarded. Oh, and here's I love this. I love God Sod. He says all cultures are equal. All cultures are equal. He's making a statement. He's not saying that. He believes the opposite of it. This is off of a post that says Pakistan, hundreds of men left their mosque like zombies to follow and sexually harass a woman after seeing her walk near a mosque. So this is how Pakistan treats you. The guy in green, I think, is either her father or her boyfriend or something. He's trying to protect her, from what I can tell. So yeah, not all cultures are the same. That's bullshit. I can believe that's bullshit, and I can believe that we should never allow that in our society. And I can believe that we shouldn't import people like this who majority have these thoughts into our country unless we want our women to be treated that way. And I don't know what kind of man ever would. Here's another Somali from Minnesota. He's evidently fucking retarded too. Not that all Somalis are, but it seems like we're getting a decent amount of them. He says, ICE stopped ducking me. He's basically makes threats.
I actually heard you guys pull up to Owatonna, the big.
And he says he's going to shoot them when they come back.
Oh,
So whether this guy's here legally or not, say goodbye to this motherfucker, which is fun. Let's see what else we got here. There does appear to be a pattern. Yes. I said the fraud is everywhere. So this is Maine. A whistleblower alleges that Medicaid fraud scheme similar to the one in Minnesota exists. Let me see. How long is this one? 3 minutes. I'm going to show you guys this one. You know what? I'll skip it. Basically, there's massive amounts of fraud. I think the numbers I saw were like 13 to 14% of the programs or people applying for programs. It's fraudulent. And over 90%, I think it was here. I don't think it was in Minneapolis. I think it was Maine. There was a check done submitting a bunch of applications to see whether or not they'd be approved as a test. And over 90% of the fraudulent ones that should have been marked as fraud went through just fine. So we're threatening to fine these guys really badly. And we're going to get the voter data. We're going to get it. Or California, Illinois, Maine, and a bunch of other states are not going to get federal money anymore. And what's actually going to happen, they're going to be fined on top of that. So all the money printer stops, and these guys have been abusing these Fed programs, but the money printer stops and they start getting fined. They're going to have a really big reason to give us all of the data. Where are the liberal women that care for human rights? They look at, I think they've been taught that white people are bad. Everybody seems to think that slavery and all these other, that everything, the white people are the oppressors, the Westerners are the oppressors, and that everybody that has a darker skin color is good. And history tells us that's not true. Not that we didn't have conquests, but I mean, the Chinese did that, the Mongols, right? Romans did that, Muslims did that, right? That's what that's where we had the Crusades afterwards to expel them out. The Aztecs and the Mayans weren't very great people. They used to sacrifice people to their god and perform all kinds of brutal things. They were very tribal, like going back through history, a lot of tribal civilizations. There were horrible things, but everybody wants to blame it on white people. Even though whites were slaves to Arabs, I don't get it. I don't get any of it. I don't understand. People just don't seem to understand history. And I guess that part I get. We do not do a good job teaching people why they should love this country and the history of this country, even objectively. I'm not saying like telling people to love this country and try and, propaganda type stuff. I'm saying objectively understanding the good and the bad and why this is a great country and one of the best on earth. And I don't know. We need to get better at that. Let's keep going. What else we got? Massey introduces a bill to withdraw the United States from NATO, a Cold War relic. I'm all for that. Can't wait for CARE to open the books. So Ron DeSantis went after these guys, basically called them a terrorist organization. Yeah, don't you love it? It's got a cool back too. I wish it was official merch. It's not, but it's pretty comfy, and I'm glad I got it because the lady I was talking to, she was telling me about in South Padre Island. She was telling me about how she met May Musk like over the last month, and how Elon used to go there all the time, but he hasn't been around lately, probably because he can't, because he's got to worried about getting assassinated. But it was a cool experience. It was really fun. But yeah, so CARE and the Muslim Brotherhood have been classified as terrorist organizations, and now Ron DeSantis is forcing them to open up the books. He wants to see where the money's flowing. This will be really good stuff for Trump, too. We got Quentin. The U.S. needs to refinance $8 trillion of debt in 2026. Rate cuts, QE, and money printing are coming. Yes, they will be. And again, that's why they're trying to get the short end of the curve down by lowering rates, because they really need all of it down. They need the long end, but they definitely need the short end because they don't want to be paying high interest rates now. And the best way that they can lower the amount of interest we're paying on debt is by doing that, by getting rates down. Every time they can cut, they need to cut. And so there's a massive incentive to do that. Scartoon, know the difference between refugees and invaders. A man seeking refuge takes his family. A man going to war leaves his family behind. Seems pretty clear to me. We got Pete Hegseth, of all people, putting Department of War, and then he shows kicking out woke culture. He definitely lets us know he is all about kicking it out every time he gets an opportunity. You know what, real quick, I'm gonna grab just to refill my coffee super quick. And I'm going to also use this as a potty break, and then I will be right back. But I'm going to put you on squawk just for a minute, okay? So let me do this. Be right back here. And I will be back in 2 minutes. Very quick.
Look it up, man.
We're running it next time, my friend. Next time we'll have the damn thing, and we'll run it.
By the way, run that. By the way, run that ad because I don't know what you're talking about. So there's no way I ran that ad.
I was really disappointed in that. Maybe it was a PAC ad.
Yeah.
Oh, they're looking for it right now.
Not me, man.
Oh, that would be good.
They should find it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Congressman, let's talk a little bit more about the AI situation because, look, it's been 3 years since OpenAI came out and hit consumers. We don't have any regulation that has been brought up around that. We still don't really have federal regulation that strongly regulates any of the social media companies that have been out there for 15 years or longer. What do you tell people? What do you get around that? How do you find ways to actually come to an agreement to something that gets done?
Well, the good news on this, Becky, is a lot of us in a bipartisan way have been working together on AI legislation, whether you're talking about related to energy, you're talking about deep fakes, which of course are a huge issue, child safety. There's actually plenty going on in the Congress around that and bipartisan. And I think everybody agrees we've got to do something that we want to seize all the opportunity, whether it's healthcare related, education related, science related.
Always more of that to watch. I'm actively watching Bloomberg and Fox. Fox Business, Bloomberg, and CNBC all at the same time. I also have been using Earnings Hub for earnings. I'm going to start using that because it gives me a bunch of additional information that should make things a little bit easier when earnings time comes around. So lots of good stuff hopefully coming. Question, QT has ended December 1st. Does it mean QE stealthily started? QE did start. I thought it was for $20 billion a month, but from the sounds of it, from Tom Lee, if he's right about the number, which I would say his number is probably going to be more vetted than mine since he has an entire team working for him and company. He said 45 to 50 billion per month. So that already started. That did start on the first, yes. We will look at those in a second. We're done. No more anti-white propaganda. I love this.
Knocking his knife in the bleachers. That seems like the kind of thing that should disqualify you from.
I love this. I love that it's just okay now to talk about how it's not okay to be racist towards white people because of some ill-informed view you have of history. So I think Martin Luther King would love this, that we're making that not okay. God, again, put out perfect assimilation into Japanese culture. So these guys, migrants, blocked a village road for a couple of hours in Japan so that they could slap their chests and show dominance. Again, this isn't a group of invaders. This is what an invader would do. They would tell you that your rules don't apply to them, and they would show you that their ability to pray or their ability to be able to show dominance from slapping chests or talking about jihad. They would show you this, right? They would show you this, that your rules don't apply to them. Elon Musk, Waymo never really had a chance against Tesla. This will be obvious in hindsight. This was obvious to me years ago. I don't know why it took so long for other people to come around. We should all remember that Elon Musk was warning about population collapse more than a decade ago when most of humanity was still talking about overpopulation. So we have the lowest number of births in 2024 for Japan since 1899 when they started keeping records. So this literally could be the lowest birth rate ever for this country. We just don't know for sure. And again, I just love this. I love the lawsuits to uncover what's going on. And the states of Alabama, Georgia, Arizona, Oklahoma, Kentucky, Texas, Florida, all of this, I think it's a really good thing, and it'll be illuminating. Let me see what else we got here. Am I in the highlights section? Oh, I think I'm in highlights. Let me go back here. Let me do this. Oh, that's a good one, too. This is the thing I'm actually trying to do more, what he's talking about. But let me refresh here real quick. I thought there could be another shutdown. Yeah, that could be another thing. Yes, we'll have another shutdown. It's not the end of January, though. I want to say it's like the middle. That's when we have to basically approve a furthering of the budget. So we need to raise the debt ceiling again, and they can do another shutdown then. But I actually think my thesis is that they will, if they do that, it's a big deal. Let me get down here a little bit further. If they do that, it's a really big deal. And what will end up happening is we'll actually see, the Republicans work together to end the filibuster, because they're not going to fuck around. Like, if every time they're trying to pass bills, the government is being shut down for a month at a time. Like, let's put it this way. I don't think there's a lot of incentive for Democrats to do that to their people again, to fuck up their SNAP and other stuff. That narrative is going to get real old with people that want their SNAP benefits. And so I don't think it really worked in their favor to begin with the first time, even though the polling kind of looks that way initially. People's perception long term is worse. So I don't think they have an incentive to do that stuff. And I think also that Republicans have an incentive to get things moving along. So I'm not too worried about that, honestly. Yeah, look at this. So Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, repost this, and it says, a controversial Muslim charity accused of links to Hamas settles lawsuit rather than disclosing sources of funding. This was March 1st of 2025, published in February. So again, it's been going on a while. They didn't want to show you where the money was coming from. Now they're going to have no choice, and I think that's a really great thing. Quentin, $8 trillion. We talked about that. We did talk about this. Okay, let's keep going. What else we got? Skip the care part. This is great. So this is Pavel Durov. He's the person who created Telegram. He was Russian, and then he left Russia because he was afraid of Russia controlling Telegram, and he said he wouldn't allow that. And then Europe, Emmanuel Macron, threatened to imprison him for not censoring, basically like Russia. So he didn't realize that Western nations would be doing this to him too. That is playing out so far, but he was talking about something separate. He was talking about how moving and doing stuff is good for you. And this is what I'm trying to focus on. He was talking about working out every day and just how much it benefits you and how much it allows you to be able to focus and how it allows you to feel good about yourself. And I think people need to be active, and you need to be pushing forward with some kind of progress every day, even if it's small. And so that's the life I'm going to try and live. And this is great. So Elon puts, thanks to the change in the law, he can't hurt more innocent people. So because of Irina's death, at least the world took a moment to look at this beautiful girl and say, why the fuck is this happening in our country? And then when they watched the video, they were sickened even more, especially if you saw the people around doing nothing to help her. And so this guy was denied bail. Otherwise, he would have gotten out to commit more crimes and murder people or whatever he wants to do. But now that's going away. That's just one state. We need it a lot more. Let's see. Stewart said, I thought there could be a Democrat in over 30 years. Miami elect. So, yeah, but that was in a liberal area, right? SB Machado, the legendary singer Pat Boone in 91 posts some of his gym workouts and speaks to that too. Keep moving. Yeah, you have to, I think. Even in retirement, if you just can't sit around. I've done that on and off for a while, and it's just miserable. You got to move. Back to equality under the law. So the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division says that they're going to restore equal protection for all in civil rights, the enforcement. The prior disparate impact regulations encouraged people to file lawsuits challenging racially neutral policies without evidence of intentional discrimination. Our rejection of the theory will restore true equality under the law by requiring proof of actual discrimination rather than enforcing race or sex-based quotas on assumption. So this is great. So we're making the world a fairer place. I love that. I love that. Our people give a lot of shit to our Department of Justice. I think they're doing a great job. This is some pervert from fucking North Carolina State University, around that area, talking about how if a loving father wants to marry off his 9-year-old daughter, my daughter's 11, to a righteous man and all parties consent, what is the issue with that? Well, I don't like a 9-year-old. So what does that even mean? A righteous man, all parties consent. What can a 9-year-old fucking consent to? They're a child. This is a culture that I cannot relate with. And people that talk about stuff like this should be deported out of this fucking country. I don't even care if they are a citizen. You are not somebody that relates with Western civilization, and our rules are a direct conflict to what you believe. Get the fuck out. You're not changing this place. I put we need more prisons. We'll get to more market stuff. Again, we're kind of taking it chill today, guys. Woman with 100 prior arrests charged with killing a 70-year-old man after she ran him over with her car in Rhode Island. This woman's been arrested 100 fucking times. Put her in prison and don't ever open the door. Bitcoin Archive, official U.S. regulator OCC, confirmed banks can facilitate Bitcoin and crypto transactions. Again, there's a lot of really good stuff happening on the first of this year, guys. The supplemental leverage ratio modifications will allow a lot more lending too, and this should help drop, another 25 whatever bips. It's just going to be another positive sign, and the OCC is doing their part too. Said make crime illegal again. This is in Hawaii. You would be surprised when you go to Honolulu, just north of that, how many fucking homeless fentanyl drug addicts live on Hawaii. You would think it would be a beautiful place, but their liberal policies have fucked them. This guy had 300 prior arrests. Just days before after his release, Tommy Childs was arrested again for biting a police officer. Why would a police officer have to work? I mean, he's almost all gums, so that might make it a little less of an offense. But why? Why isn't this person just in a mental asylum or in a prison for the rest of their lives? That's the nicest thing we can do for them. California journalist calls out the Los Angeles City Council. So far, we've spent $450 million, $500 million to house 1,144 people. I could do it for less. And I don't know shit. Patrick posted the most interesting thing in the next 3 to 4 years is data centers in space. There's a lot of really cool stuff about that. What is this guy's name? Oh, I can't remember it off the top of my head. He's big in Silicon Valley. It escapes me. If chat knows, please throw it out. But they were talking about this. Oh yeah, right here, this line. In space, you can keep a satellite in the sun for 24 hours a day. So again, you don't have any downtime. The sun is 30% more intense, so you're getting 6 times the irradiance than you would on Earth. Again, atmospheric conditions probably affect that too. Yeah, the SpaceX IPO. No shit. That's going to be a lot of money. What was it, 1.6 trillion or something that they were looking to get for their initial valuation? And I think they were looking for like 20 or 30 billion initial investment sometime early 2026. Gavin Baker, thank you guys. But again, 6 times more irradiance. So if you have really good solar panels that can do well in space and that are like, they don't even have to be that low of cost because again, you can just keep them. There's no maintenance really, right? But if you can put up all these and then have the data centers up there too, you don't have to worry about cooling. The efficiency is just going to be insane. Data centers will be in space. If only, can you guys think of a person who has a need for data centers, is working with AI, and has a space company, and is one of the best manufacturers on Earth? Can you guys think of somebody that might be working on a fab company in the near future? If only there was somebody that was doing all these things, because that is probably going to be one of the biggest things that sets us into just an infinite age of abundance, is having data centers in space and not having no limitations. Jeff Bezos, I mean, if you were looking for the Temu version, you'd be spot on, Jay. Hopefully this is apparent to people. I am talking about Elon Musk. Amy Mack, breaking Florida. Okay, so yeah, she's just talking about CARE again. They had a little hissy fit. They don't like what's happening. Mike Lee, I attended arguments at the Supreme Court today in Trump versus Slaughter. SCOTUS has the chance to overturn Humphrey's executor, which would restore presidential authority over the executive branch, freeing us from bureaucratic tyranny. This can't happen soon enough. I don't even know when this can happen, but this would be huge. Let's read more here. Senator Mike Lee, a Utah Republican, a constitutional originalist, attended a Supreme Court oral arguments in Trump versus Slaughter on December 8th and posted a video recapping his view that the court may overturn the 1935 Humphreys executor precedent, which shields independent agencies' heads from at-will presidential removal. So he's going to basically be able to fire anybody from these agencies that he wants to fire, which is great. The case challenges the headless fourth branch of government, multi-member commissions like FTC that exercise, or I would say like FTC or maybe the Fed, that exercise executive power without direct presidential oversight, rooted in Article. Now, we're not going to say the Fed, but that's what we're going to do. Rooted in Article 2's vesting clause, which grants the president unitary executive authority. Media coverage, including CNN and New York Times, suggests a conservative majority. At least 5 justices appeared receptive to the argument, potentially enabling broader Trump administration reform. Again, every bit of power and control he can get without having to implement the filibuster is a good thing. Very excited to see this. I said I agree with the statement. So somebody put New York landlords need $1 billion to avoid defaults. They're never going to get that. I agree with this statement from the comments. Defaults are the goal. City buys back cheaper and runs it themselves. There's no help coming for the landlords. This is literally what Mamdani ran on. It's not to help the groups that are working with low-income housing. It's to take that from them and then run it better. Good luck. If you guys can find me examples of where the government does things better, I would love to hear it. Love to hear it. You went to high school in Hawaii? Used to be meth? Yeah, right? They've just upgraded to fentanyl. Isn't that awesome? Yeah, it's actually so shitty. But I did find this place that made the best breakfast just north of our resort. You start going north and you get into the ghetto, and then it just comes to a fucking end. You have to go like around the other ways for a lot of stuff. But it was fascinating to see who lives up there and just see homelessness, rampant homelessness on such a beautiful place. It's insane. Breaking, Vivek Ramaswamy's Strive just announced it will raise $500 million to buy more Bitcoin. They're buying BTC relentlessly. I actually think this is the perfect time. This is a great time to buy the dip. I'm all for that. Akash Gupta, this is a great post. He said, SpaceX is about to become the most important company on Earth and maybe off of it. So, so this is the 30 to 40 billion is what they want to raise in a $1.5 trillion valuation. Be the largest IPO in history. It would dwarf what's going on with OpenAI. OpenAI is struggling, by the way. They're having issues. They're slowing down their AGI development and their other measures so that they can fix some stuff to try and make the product more usable. I don't know why you would slow down at all, especially with all the money you've raised, unless you are not doing very well. Before I jump into all this, though, it looks like we've got Rick Santelli on CNBC. We're talking about some economic data, which we have not touched yet, so let's get into it. The 30-year mortgage sitting flat around 6.33%. Again, though, it's done pretty well. You got to look at what we came down off of, 7.09, so we're down about 0.7. That's not a bad number, and it will get better soon. Mortgage applications, let's look at that. Those rose a little bit, but really these are dead numbers. These are not great numbers. This is kind of hard to read, but you would have these blue lines. You'd want a lot more of them, and we don't have them. Mortgage market index, again, just has not really done well. Refinance index, again, not really well. If you zoom out here, that's where you get to see the not really well part. It's starting to get better, right? Like I got to say this, it's starting to get better, but we are still in the lower range of a lot of this. It could go a lot higher. It will go a lot higher. Springtime is going to be really great, guys. We're going to have rates down, and the mortgage market is going to be kicking off. I've been saying that for a while. It will be very evident, I think, in the next 3 months that things are getting exciting in mortgage and in real estate. I think that can drive a lot of markets. Maybe that helps Enphase. Enphase has a horrible chart, or at least it has been a horrible chart. I don't even know what they're down right now. Let me pop this over real quick. I'll take a look. Enphase deals with solar deployments. A lot of revenue in the United States, stuff going on in Europe too. Again, a lot of incentives got removed. It was really the raising of rates at the most aggressive rate in history that fucked this one. That, and it was just really highly valued. November of 2022, right when the Fed raised rates at the most aggressive rate in history, this thing went from 340 to roughly a month later being at 202, and it's just never been the same since. Currently sitting down, I think 91% from its high. Yeah, just about 91% from its all-time high. They've actually been beating in expectations the last couple of quarters. I could see that happening again, but I could see like maybe companies like Open, it's got a high valuation. Companies like Enphase, I could see them doing better as rates are coming down and residential real estate kicks off. Got to remember the people in California, they're still all about the solar. So if we start to see the ability to build, you could see things getting more interesting. 300 prior arrests. I live in Texas, and I got caught with weed in 2012, and they sent me straight to prison. No fucking... Really? Wow, dude. How much did you have, bro? They don't fuck around there. Wow. That's nuts. That is nuts. Anyway, we're going to jump back to topic here. I think I missed employment costs. Let's not forget that. Employment costs, benefits, quarter over quarter, 0.8%. This is for Q3, so this is very much delayed. But that's actually probably good. Let's look here. Let's see if we can zoom out. So it's trending up since a low in Q2 of 2025. So Q3 is getting a little bit better. So it's good to see. It was higher than what expectations were, right? They were expecting a 0.6, so they're expecting it to get worse, and it got better. Employment cost wages was 0.8%. That was right in line with forecasts. So let's look here. And this is employment cost wages. So this is their cost. This isn't necessarily focused on the wages themselves. Employment cost index, 0.8%. So overall, compensation cost for civilians, 0.8%. From previous period, they're not really saying a lot more. So not much. This really went up a lot in Q1 of 2022, but inflation went up so much more. So we do want to see this turning around, right? We want to see we want to see probably the wages one and benefits ones doing better. And again, benefits did, wages could do better. That's pretty much it on that front. Not much else until, again, Fed rate decision later. It says 7 p.m. I don't know why. That's weird. It's 1 o'clock Central Time. All right, let's go back over. Oh, I hope this comes up in the right place. Yes, okay, good. So Akash Gupta talking about why SpaceX is going to be so huge, and I think this is a big deal. Musk just told investors that Starlink will generate $22 to $24 billion in 2026 revenue, up from $8 billion in 2024. Gonna have to drink more coffee. That's tripling in 2 years at 100x forward revenue. The market is pricing Starlink like it's the next AWS. It will be. The comparison is not crazy. AWS did $90 billion last year with 31% of cloud market share. Starlink has 8 million subscribers and approximately zero competition. Zero competition. Amazon's Cooper has 153 satellites. No, dude. Yeah, over 7,000 satellites. I think it's more than that. What is it? How many satellites? I'm going to, real quickly here, I'm going to grok this while I'm waiting. All right, we've grokked that. Let's leave that alone. So we'll see if it's the 7,000 plus. It might be. OneWeb did 216 million in 2024. Starlink did 8 billion. By the time Cooper launches commercial service in late 2026, the race is already over. I agree. But Starlink is the boring part of the story. There's just no way Bezos can keep up. He just wants to say that he's part of the race, really, I think, more than anything. Let me see here. Is this going to... It failed. Let me do this. I got to refresh my query. If I don't refresh my Grok before I query, it times out overnight. So let me just have that running. Musk said last month that cost effectiveness of AI in space will be overwhelmingly better than AI on the ground within 4 to 5 years. That's not a long time frame, and I would take him at that. I know a lot of times he estimates too far out, but technology is moving a lot quicker than it used to. Yeah, approximately 10,000 operational working today. Yeah, so there's like 10,000. There's not 7,000. There's 10,000. So this guy's lowballing it. The most dangerous thing about weed is getting caught with it. I agree. In our state, it's legal if you have a prescription. But I do think, though, that it makes a lot of people stupid and slow, too. So there's, like, complications to it. They kept trying to revoke my bond, put me back into jail for things on the same offense, no new charges. They don't get fuck around in Texas. I believe it, man. Jesse, can you talk about your favorite holdings going into 2026? Yeah, I'll probably do that. Maybe I'll do that Monday. I do have my favorite holdings. Tesla's obvious. As far as like safety, Tesla's it. I do think that I think there's probably a lot of opportunity in a lot of spaces. There's only so much I know. I'm really excited about ArcG and genomics. I think TLT will start doing better too. If rates start coming down and people trust that the government is trying to manage expenses and outgrow, which I think they're going to prove themselves to do in next year. BMNR could do well, but again, it's come up a lot. It was at $24 just a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, and now it's at $39. So it's already starting to do well. I think maybe, again, some energy plays might do well. I think Bitcoin treasuries are going to start to turn it around. Metaplanet has been absolutely crushed. MicroStrategy has been absolutely crushed. But you got Sailor doing world tours, and you've got some very constructive technical support ranges here. Again, this thing was already down 86, 87% from its high. Now it's sitting at negative 83. So it's got a long way to go back. But they've got pretty good preferred offerings, and I think MicroStrategy is probably even in a better position. If you wanted to be conservative for treasuries, why wouldn't you buy MicroStrategy? I started to buy some this last week. It's down. It was down 71%. And even now, it's still underneath that first fib line, trying to push higher, down 65%. BMNR is the only one I would pay attention to. I would just pay attention to Tom Lee. I don't think there's so much institutional traffic that follows Tom. I wouldn't look at doing anything but that. And again, CleanSpark, I love. I own CleanSpark. I own Cypher. I own Iron. I still have some Mara, but they're calls. They might go to dust. They're this. They probably are dust. They're this month, so they're gone. So really, it's just CleanSpark, Cypher, and Iron that I'm focused on, and that's just really following a play off of Mike Alfred. You try and find brilliant people when you're in the investment space. I provide value in some ways. Mike Alfred is he's definitely somebody who's like the New York executive in guy. He knows everybody. He just posted something the other day where he's hanging out with one of the band members from Empire of the Sun. So he's got a lot of connections, and he's smart. He knows where things are heading, and he believes that providing energy and the whole setup and like full vertical for AI company build outs is a good thing. And it took me a while to get there, but I agree with that too. I think there's just so much growth in that space. It's the energy that's desperately needed, and these guys have access to it because they were Bitcoin miners. And they can learn how to do build outs, and they can be the go-tos for these companies when they want to do more building out. For the ones that don't want to, that aren't mega corps, or they just can't build it out enough themselves. And I think there's going to be plenty of companies that fit that. I like it. I mean, we just talked about Strive this morning. They're going to buy 500 million more in Bitcoin. I think it's a good value where it's at, and I have a 6-figure position in it too. And it's consolidating off of peak volumes going back a very long ways. So I think that one's going to turn well. It's got an easy, just from where it's at before it hits any kind of volume, it's got an easy 35% increase. So I think you got to think about that, right? Like you got to think, and then to the gap, guys, it's 730. These guys want to be the BlackRock of the investing world, and that's a pretty big claim. It's a pretty big claim and objective. So I think there's some really good targets on this one. I think it's going to end up going up. Just remember, there's an overhang at 130 because of the warrants that expire, I think 10 months from now. So there's an incentive to use those. Yeah, the pipe, exactly. So there's an incentive to use those warrants and execute off of them. And so once you hit the 135 range, I want to say that's where you get that volume. And that's why there's so much volume right here, right? That's why there's such a volume shelf. So I think it might be a grind to get above that. It could take a little while to get above that. Anthony said, if I'm a trader, I would not short DATs at these. Oh, yeah, totally. It was horrible risk to reward, right? Why would you short something like ASST that's down 92% from where it was at? You'd have to be an idiot, in my opinion. If I was making more money right now, and ARKG's actually done okay, but it could do better. TLT has not performed at all, but I went into it knowing that it might not and that I could add to it. But if ARKG really starts to take off, I heard Kathy talking about it the other day, made me excited. She hasn't really spoke about it in a long time. If ARKG starts to really take off, I will get excited about that too. But yeah, so I think Strive is good, but again, I look at that one as more of a long-term hold because I don't know how long the warrants or the pipe, as people refer to it as, I don't know how long that has overhang on it. But you can tell, again, like with ARKG, this thing went up 380% in a very short period of time. It is still down 73% from where it was in 2021. This was before the Fed raised rates at the most aggressive rate in history. It actually had already kind of peaked after a parabolic run, but it looked like it was going to go higher, just kind of like Bitcoin did. And then it didn't get the opportunity because the Fed raised rates at the most aggressive rate in history, and we just saw stuff go poof. Seth doesn't like TLT unless we go into a recession. See, I disagree with Seth on that. Maybe I should have a conversation with him. Because I think TLT, again, and I don't know if he looks at it this way. I don't know what his reasoning is. If you know it, throw it out, MTMac. But my reasoning behind why TLT is going to do well, and then I'll get back to this chart because this chart is still very, very, very beautiful. That's the monthly chart. But if you look at the weekly on this, it's just it's pretty. But with TLT, I believe that it can do really well because I think there's a massive incentive from the Fed and the Treasury Secretary. Well, right now the Fed isn't going to do it, but they're doing it reluctantly, right? Powell's very political and does not like Trump at all. And you can kind of understand why he doesn't like Trump. Trump has not been nice to him at all. But TLT is still down 51% from its high. We're seeing levels, guys, that go back to its inception in 2002, 23 years ago. So bonds had some of their worst rout since the 17 and 1800s. This is historic stuff, and this was all done based on massive amounts of money printing. Now, are we going to have money printing? We are, but we're going to be artificially pushing rates down at the low end of the curve, and we're going to be doing that very aggressively because we want to make sure that the short-term debt, that A, we're not issuing long-term debt because you don't want to be locked in to 10, 20, 30 years at 4%, 5% levels. You just wouldn't never want that, right? Our interest on expense would be huge, bigger than it is right now. And so you don't lock that debt in. What you do is you pull down the short end of the curve and get it stupid low, and then you issue all the debt that way, and you artificially suppress debt on the long end of the curve, and you do something, the buybacks that they were talking about, even though they're going to be shorter term, at least these ones, the 45 to 50 that they're doing. But whatever, it pulls down the short end of the curve, and then you artificially starve the long end of the curve, and then you eventually pull in more yield curve control to make it to where you pull down that yield even more. But it will naturally come down as the shorter end is coming down. The longer end will start to come down too. But I think TLT is going to do good, especially if you were just holding TLT. It only gives like a yield of 3.8%, and that will get progressively lower. But that's a pretty good return. And this thing, I mean, you could make 25% upside. So instead of holding cash, I would be holding this because I think there's virtually no downside in TLT. You get a 4% return every year, and then you could get 25% really easily in the next year. So it's if you wanted an easy 30% return and you were just trying to be safe, I actually think that this is probably one of the best things you could own. And I don't think it has to be in a recession because there's an incentive no matter whether we get a recession or not to lower rates. So that's my thought there. Thoughts about keeping your cash. And see, I still don't love the products that Michael Saylor's pushing just because I don't know how much people will love them. But if you look at all the different offerings, Strike, all these different things, you'll see that they have been bouncing back pretty good. But if we went into like a deep Bitcoin bear market, which I don't think we're in, I don't know that I would want to hold them into that because I think for a more prolonged period of time, they could trade at a discount because you're including corporate risk, just like the stock, right? You don't want to hold MicroStrategy through a bear market. It'll get absolutely decimated because people are starting to place bets that the company could fail, even though they don't understand that that's just not going to happen. The design that they've made around their debt offerings, and like they can pay their dividends for like a year and a half, I think right now, but it'll be over 2 years soon, without having to tap any equity at all. And then their debts are pushed out to like 20, 30, 31. They're really clean. They're just a really clean setup. People don't understand that though, so they discount them. But if you just look over here, I mean, they're so fucking transparent about everything. Look at these debts. They've got debts for 2028, right? Like they've got issuance on that. You can see the coupon. You can see all the metrics that you need to see, 2029, 2030. But it's really the bulk of the monies, the really big dollars here are in 2030 to 2032. I'm not worried about 2030, but I mean, they're not even till 2028. People shouldn't be worried, but I just don't know if they're going to be. So that's my worry about MicroStrategy. Seth says historically when Fed cuts rates outside of a recession, 10-year Treasury yield doesn't move. But here's the thing that Seth is probably not thinking about. He's really good at looking at history. And Seth, I don't know if you watch me, but if you do, don't be too mad. I'm just trying to give you my perspective. But, and I'm sure he wouldn't be. He's a cool dude. He's my Jewish brother from New Jersey. But he's right about that, right? Like he's right about that. That's a really good point. But it's different now. And I know it's always a danger to say that, but I think it's not really this time because we've never been as indebted and over that 100% mark on debt to GDP where you become more dangerous, right? We can't afford and to have interest on expense be as high as it is, so much higher than our military budget. We can't afford this. We can't afford this. It's just it's creating a massive issue. We need to grow our GDP really fast, and we need to reduce our debt and make it to where the interest on our expense is low. And if you listen to everybody, if it's Hassett, if it's Scott Bessent, any number of other people, they're all saying the same thing. Rates need to come down, and they need to come down quickly. And that's because we want our interest expenses to be lower too. So I'm not really worried about. I'm looking at it differently. You know what I mean? How do you know we are in a bear market? How do I know when? We'll have a blow off top in Bitcoin. Now, don't get me wrong. Here's what I'll say. If right now, if Kamala Harris was president, or let's say Trump was president, let's say they couldn't get anything done. Let's say he wasn't able to pass the big, beautiful bill. Let's say that nothing happened with like crypto regulation and Bitcoin and talks of a Bitcoin reserve. Let's say the ETFs, like maybe some of them even got banned for some reason, right? Like this is the other reality we could have lived in or some variant in between. And if all those things happened and we didn't pass the big, beautiful bill, we didn't have tax breaks, we didn't have deregulation coming, we didn't have like all these positive from the tariffs, all these positive agreements and relationships with companies that are building. I forget how many groundbreakings there are right now. I want to say it's 70 since the beginning of the year, like major groundbreakings. If none of that stuff had happened, and if the Fed hadn't already raised rates at the most aggressive rate in history and was now signaling the opposite into a slowing job market. If those things weren't happening, I would have a different view, right? Like I would look at this differently. And I would think that we'll probably heading into a bear market and that it's going to get ugly, right? But the exact opposite of that is true. We haven't really had a blow off top in Bitcoin. We've got gold and silver rocketing still, but they're hitting steady resistance. Like gold is really a beautiful example of that. The momentum on this is over. We're trending down, and we trended down off of a 92 RSI. Guys, if you're not a technical person, I don't know what to tell you, but anything in the 80s is fucking crazy, especially over a monthly time frame. The 90s is nuts. It's batshit fucking crazy. It's like once in 100-year level shit. So we've hit this fib. This is well into the banana zone, right? Like the banana zone, this is where normally you retrace with things. This is bananas, right? So it doesn't get much better than that. And actually, it starts to contract when you look at the Fibonacci extension. It starts to get less because you're so much in the banana zone. So I think gold is coming down, and I think we're already seeing that. If we look at the Bitcoin to gold ratio, let me see if I can find that. I think it's here. It's probably not labeled correctly. Yeah, Bitcoin to gold ratio. Here's what I see. I see a double bottom. And I'm looking at, this is the 3-day chart. I think it just did a better job of the double bottom. But if you look at the weekly, guys, we are at oversold conditions on the weekly for the Bitcoin to gold ratio. And those levels, guys, over here, like, let's just look at time frames. November of 2022. So again, that was like, we're getting fucked time when we hit these levels. Well, actually, we started bouncing back from it. But it's a complex thing. Bitcoin to gold, looking at it based on dates alone, is probably more complicated. But you could see over here, like you could see when the market does well and when it's exuberant. And we just never got that, right? Like if you look over here, we had that, or I should say this, we had it in March of 2024, which is way too early for the cycle to have ended. And now we're down in the doldrums of the Bitcoin to gold ratio, and we look like we've double bottomed here. And I expect this to go higher. I expect to blow off top. I mean, again, look at these previous ones, guys. Look over here in December of 2024, we had barely gotten above this previous level of the last cycle for the Bitcoin to gold ratio. And we had this head and shoulders, kind of looks like it, but the shoulders are way too high. But it looked like we were going to break down. I think people think we're going way down here. I don't think we are. I think gold has had its run. I think we can already see it slowing. I think it's going to start to break down. If it's breaking down, Bitcoin is going up. That is my strong opinion. There's so many trillions of dollars. Bitcoin is 1/11th or 1/12th the size of gold's market cap right now. It's just a baby. And we've talked about this numerous times on the channel, but things move from the biggest containers to the smallest ones. And that's what's going to happen. Just look over here, guys. Look at how crazy the Bitcoin to gold ratio got. Look over here how crazy it got. Look over here how crazy it got. This time, it couldn't even surpass previous levels. And I think that gold has been played out. It's done really, really well, and I respect everybody who's done really well off of that trade. Silver still has a little bit of life in it, but it's hitting the limits here too. I strongly believe that. So I don't think we're in a bear market. I don't even remember how I went down on all this, if somebody actually talked about these things. But I don't think we're in a bear market. I think we're very much in a bull market, and I think I'm giving pretty good reasons why, from the macro standpoint, why we're very much in a bullish market and should be excited. MT Max also says, I have a big chunk of my cash position in TLT and a bunch of 2027, 2028 leaps. Yeah, those are probably good ranges. I have no issue adding to TLT under 90. I know it's so cheap. I just think, again, you're talking about hundreds of years of a route. And I think that America is starting to do what it's supposed to do. And I think there's a really good chance that we can continue that. So I'm stoked, man. ASST warrants 555 million at 135 expire 1 year from registration, which is about 10 and a half months from now, maybe 10 now, I think. So, yep, that keeps the ceiling on it. All the positive tailwinds you mentioned is obvious. Is that consensus? No, it's not. So here's the thing. So people get confused by this about the consensus plays and whether or not things are priced in, right? The market's done all right, but I would argue, especially in Bitcoin and crypto, it's went nowhere whatsoever. But the tailwinds that we're going to see behind our economy here, they're big tailwinds that continue to outperform every month. These are things, it's not like, oh, hey, is it a sell the news event or a buy the news event? The news is changing the direction of the data in the future. We already know that earnings are doing exceptionally well and have outperformed. We've already got that tailwind behind us. And we've already got the really bearish takes on the economy. Residential, like real estate has just been dead forever. Jobs don't look great right now. Inflation is falling off as a narrative, and we're seeing, disinflation. And we're seeing just sectors all across the economy that are underperforming. But then we know that we have all these things that are going to be tailwinds behind us that are going to be driving things better economically. If we have lower rates, real estate's going to take off. We know that we're deporting a bunch of people. There was an anecdotal video that I saw from a guy in Texas who was like, dude, I don't know what to say, but since they just started deporting all these people, I'm getting business calls from my construction company all the time now. And so you got people that are going to be doing financially better now. You're getting rid of people that are financial burden to the system. Hopefully, I hope those are the people that we're focused on. It's really hard to get clear data. We know we're going after criminals, and we know we're going after people that are probably taking away from the system and collecting from it. That would be the focus. And so if we're getting rid of those kind of people, we're helping the balance sheet of the federal government, but we're also helping those local communities, because any competition they might have had that was cheaper labor is gone. And now they're having to go to the other people and be like, we'll pay you more. That helps wages. It might add to costs of some of this stuff, but again, I think interest expense is probably a really big one, and regulation is another one. 10 to 15% of the cost of a house is regulation. If you're in California, it's much worse, 30% plus. And but we can get all that stuff down. The deregulation we can get down, the interest part we can get down, and we can start paying people more in wages, and we'll see productivity going up. We'll see more overtime. The overtime pays less tax, so those people get to keep more of that money. They get to spend more in places. I think we're going to have just really amazing stuff next year that's going to build each month, each quarter, that's going to send us higher. Because the fundamentals indicate that, the data indicates that. So that's a big difference there, right? Is no, I don't think you can price that in, because it just keeps getting better. Hopefully that's understood. MT Mac, like Buffett always said, be greedy when others are fearful. And you know what else he said? He said that you never bet against America. You never bet against America. And there's never been a time where that's more true than what we're just looking at now, because America was off the rails, and now we're coming back on them fiscally, and then also too by ensuring growth, innovation, lower energy costs, lower tax environment. Again, think about all the corporations that are going to start benefiting from a tax perspective. Not only are we going to have residential doing really good next year, guys, but we're going to be seeing something that's, I would argue, even better. We're going to be seeing corporates go, things are looking pretty good. We're liking these tax plans. Let's go ahead and spend more. Not just the ones coming from overseas, but the ones that are like smaller businesses that are like, you know what? Our taxes are getting pretty low, guys. I'm kind of digging this. It looks like the economy isn't falling apart. Interest rates are coming down. We're seeing real estate pick up. You know what we should do? We should go out and take out some debt and do some CapEx and do some growing. And I think you see a lot more of that soon. Let me do this. I'm going to go to pre-market. You can see how yesterday they did. In my portfolio, it was really good. CleanSpark up 7%. Metaplanet was up I guess overseas right now it's up 10.7% in Germany. But it was up 12% in the United States. Or I'm sorry, it's up 12%. No, I'm sorry. So in Germany, it is up almost 11% right now. And then in Japan, it closed up 12.14%. So it's probably going to do even better in the United States today too. But it did about 8.5, I think, yesterday. Smarter Web did 3.64. I don't talk about that much because I just worry because they're in the UK and I don't trust the UK worth a shit right now as a country. But BMNR was up 9.4%. It's up 0.2% in after hours right now. Cypher was only up 0.41%. IREM was only up 1 yesterday at close. MicroStrategy was up like, I think 2 or 3%. It did well. Yesterday was a pretty good day for me. And what did SATA do yesterday? I think they did all right too. I guess 0.09%. So they didn't close too well. They've just kind of been consolidating. But I think a lot of good things are happening. Today, though, let's look this morning in pre-market. Tesla down just a hair. Some of the Magnificent Seven getting hit. What do we got over here? I can't even see who that is. Whatever. I don't want to move around. But yeah, so I don't know. Pretty flat ahead of the Fed meeting. I think that's pretty normal. See what else we got. And Bitcoin, guys, sitting at 92,000. You can see it's still consolidating under that level. I think that's great. I think that's right where we want it. Have you discussed GEV Energy, one of my best performers on the year? Big run last night after hours. What can you tell us more about it? I think we need to learn more about energy. But yeah, if you could tell us more about it, like who they are, how they've been doing, like from their quarterly stuff, just anything, any color that you have. Andrew Johnson. I live in Texas, and a house in my neighborhood was having its roof replaced this week. All white and black dudes. Literally have never seen that before, I suppose, right? A bunch of Hispanics on the roof. You'd probably never seen that. Like, that's what you normally would see. We were down in the Rio Grande Valley area, and still heavy Hispanic. Dude, it feels like you're in Mexico. It feels so like Mexico. It's crazy. Just even the walking bridges, like just everything about it screams Mexico. But I can imagine that. I think you've got Hispanic workers that are illegal, that are afraid to work. They're probably still collecting something, but they're afraid to work and they're afraid to get taken away. And if I was them, I would fear that too. Again, I hope we have minimal collateral damage with really good people that have come to this country. I hope that's minimal. I hope that we take out the bad guys. I hope we take people out that came in under the Biden administration, and or just people that aren't contributing to society. I hope we take them out. But I hope they're really good people. I hope we find a way to keep them. Personally, that's my view. I never got back to the SpaceX thing. I should probably do that at some point, maybe. We already listened to Tom Lee. Let me just go down. I might jump back to SpaceX for a second, but let's see what else Chad has. Agreed. Only concern is crypto decouples from equities. Been a strange year. I don't think so. I think equities. I think there's plenty of equities that have not outperformed, but we're seeing the IWM guys. We're seeing Russell. It still wants to break out. There's so many things that are ready to break out. Let me just draw this line here. The small caps have not had a good time. If we just look over here, like this is it, right? This is it. And we broke down, and honestly, what you could do is even this, and it's almost perfect. So let's just do that instead. You can see where we tried to break up and then couldn't, right? And then broke back down and just kept going down. You can see where we tried to break up. We looked like we were going to consolidate and break higher, and then we just broke down again. But this time, we found support off of previous resistance, and we're bouncing higher, and it looks like we're actually having a breakout. I should actually put an alert right here for when it gets back up there again. But it looks like the Russell's getting ready to break out. And guys, small business does better in a lower rate environment. These guys don't have as much cash on hand as the Magnificent Seven. They just can't spend. But if rates get cheap, and if with the modifications to the supplemental leverage ratio, again, those are happening too. They're happening January 1st. Banks can start implementing that, and they can start more aggressively lending. And they've already started to do a much better job than the beginning of the year. I was telling you guys anecdotally, I was applying for loans, trying to see what I could get at the beginning of the year, or credit cards, and I just couldn't get anything, even though I had an 800 plus credit score across each of the three profiles. And so things were really tight, but they got a lot better later in the year. And they're going to get even better with a supplemental leverage ratio. And so you're going to see smaller companies that are going to be able to borrow and refinance and spend on CapEx. And so you're going to see small caps doing a lot better, man. A lot better. I think people need to realize that. They need to realize that good things are coming. Yesterday, the S&P was down 0.09%. The NASDAQ was down or up 0.16%, but the Russell did the best. We want to see more of that, and I think we're going to see more of that. I think we're going to see outperformance from the small caps here too, or at least they're going to do a good job running along with the really big guys. Jesse, did you know you have a bunch of imposters? Dude, you can't keep up with them. You can't keep up with them. X made it even worse to report them. You got to do it individually, and you got to like re-upload your image and your information every single time instead of them having it on file. It's just a massive pain in the ass. There's probably laws and regulations that make it complicated like that. So I can't help that stuff. I used to really go after it, but man, I've just given up. Everybody else I know gives up on it, and I think I'm kind of there too. So yeah, there's imposters. If you guys can't take 2 fucking seconds to look for a blue check mark and or look for micro to macro and not micro to blah, blah, blah. If you can't do that, you're probably going to get scammed. That's not my problem. So don't do stupid shit. Make sure you're talking to me. I'll never ask you for money. I've got anything that you can sign up for. You can find it under my pin profile. Verify their balls. There we go. Have you... All right, so we didn't get any clarification on that. So yeah, anyway, I think that's great. Let's go back over. I want to talk more about the space thing. Hey, Jesse, do you have any tips for growing your X following? I don't. I mean, I grew mine by making a lot of money. 2023 was really the big one. 2024 sucked. I only made 54%. 2023, I made 600%. This year is worse. But I'm probably not going to get better. I mean, we got 20 days, so a miracle could happen. But I'm probably not even beating the 54. I've really sucked this year, which is a bummer. But there's a lot of Bitcoin and crypto bros that are there with me, I think. I'm not alone with that. I'm just more honest. But there's people like Mike Alfred that have done amazing. And Long Investor, he's done a really good job. He's an Elliott Wave kind of guy. He called Wave 3 and 4 really well. He said that we were going to get down to 83. We did. And he said that we're going to 150 or something now, I think. 170. I can't remember what his target is. So there's some people that have done really well. I have not been one of them this year. Yeah, okay, so I do want to talk more to this, though. Let's see here. So, talking about, let's see, where did I leave off? Meanwhile, Musk about solar AI projects with radiative cooling in orbit. Google's Sundar Pichai called it a moonshot and said Project Suncatcher could launch prototype servers by 2027. That is so far out. But he can see it too, right? His exact words, only possible because of SpaceX massive advances in launch technology. So he couldn't even get his shit up there without SpaceX and everything that they've done. But, I mean, I think SpaceX is by far the best positioned company for this. And this is going to be huge. The revenues off of this are going to be huge. Once you get this stuff up into space, the energy costs become non-existent. The maintenance becomes pretty much non-existent. And you can just build out massive facilities and then just shoot back. You can have them do all the processing in space. Again, so much cheaper. So much cheaper once you get this working. And what company's going to do that? Let's just be real. So it's going to be amazing. If you can invest in just Elon and then some Bitcoin, you'd be rich. You'll just keep making money every year. ARK just published an open source valuation model, Monte Carlo simulation, 17 variables, 1 million iterations, base case, $2.5 trillion by 2030 for SpaceX, guys. So that might be a doubling by 2030 if it goes out at a 1.5, not even a doubling, like a 90%, if it goes out at $1.5 trillion valuation. But it says 38% CAGR from December's $350 billion round. Yeah, from December's $350 billion round. But if you're not getting in on if you didn't get in under that, it's not a 38% CAGR. It's lower. And if you wait until the IPO, it'll be even lower than that. Model assumes full Starlink constellation, 42,000 satellites by 2035. I mean, they're definitely on pace for that. $300 billion annual revenue at maturity, 15% of global communications spend. Mars development funded by Starlink cash flows. And here's where it gets weird. Musk announced 5 uncrewed Starship launches to Mars in 2026. He gives it 50-50 odds. If they land intact, crewed missions begin 2029 to 2031. By 2033, he's targeting 500 launches per window. So again, there's a window of time where you can land on Mars, where you get the shortest time frame to get there, and that's when they want to send all the Starships out. By 2033, he wants to be sending out 500 Starships. These are if you take the rocket off, these things are 10-story buildings. 500 of those to Mars. So just imagine how interesting 2033 would be, guys. That's not that far away. 7 years from now, like, what is the world going to look like? It's going to be crazy. We're going to be watching Mars updates every day. We're going to see Optimus robots all over it. Maybe a few people. Yeah, so anyway, he goes into more of this. It's just really awesome. It's really cool stuff. Happy to hear about the change to the channel, but I personally miss the routine in the morning videos. I get it. I totally get that. I think I got to do what's best for me, though, and I think long-term for the channel. I think it's smarter to put out better content and spend more time on it, and again, make it more friendly to YouTube, and then grow this channel. If I grow the channel more, then it increases the likelihood that I'll end up hiring somebody to help manage with some aspects of it, and have a team like people talked about with James with Invest Answers, or at least 1 or 2 other people that can do a lot of the heavy lifting. I'd love for one of those to be an AI. Conversation, storage, distribution. Okay, so GEV, History Guy Scalp said electric conversion, storage, distribution, and software. Multiple sources of electricity to a point of consumption. Strong plan. I wonder what their profit margin. See, I just don't know enough about energy. I'm learning more. Like, I understand the AI data center part of it, but I don't know if I know all the rest. I think, guys, instead of jumping to charts, at least for this one, I think I'm going to take it easy and probably bail. So again, I won't have another one until Monday, but Monday will be a good one. Today, I might do something later on where I do Jerome Powell, where I stream that, just because that's really easy to set up. And then, but this is if I get back to my luncheon time. Anyway, sorry about kicking that. If I can get back for my luncheon time, I'll throw that up. So look out for that. Otherwise, again, there's probably other people that are streaming it. Me, Kevin, probably will. But I'll give you my thoughts on what goes on with the meeting. If nothing else, I'll post them on X. I appreciate you guys very much. We'll do this again on Monday, and I'll try and make it a really good show for you too, okay? I hope you all have a great morning, and I will talk to you later. Bye.